home of horror podcast. Home of horror. The home of horror podcast. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Home of Horror podcast. I'm your host, John. This is episode 40. The big 40, man. Shit. Let's go. Made it to 40, baby. On our way to 50. Let's do it. Yeah. It's a Saturday afternoon. Beautiful day. Wanted to jump in here. Last night I watched The Cursed 2022. This movie came out, I think, in February, and I was pretty pumped for it. It was released February 18th, but I think it went to film festivals before that, the year before, because I think it wasn't originally The Cursed. It was called 8 for Silver. And if you're watching this, you've seen the movie. Spoiler alert, right? We're doing spoilers. You understand why it was probably called 8 for Silver, but they switched the name to The Cursed, which is a way better name in my opinion. So it came out then they re-released it in theaters, directed by Sean Ellis, another director that hasn't really done that many movies. I haven't checked out if he's done like TV shows and shit like that, but not a lot of movies, maybe 4. I say it's not a lot, but it's a lot of work either way. So I was really pumped when this movie first came out. I wanted to see it in theaters. Didn't end up being able to go. I kind of chose between, with a kid, you kind of got to pick and choose which ones you want to go to, where you want to get a babysitter or not. I ended up choosing to go see the new Scream movie. I think it was the month before. I think Scream came out in January. So I chose to go see that. So I didn't end up seeing this in theaters, but finally it came out on Blu-ray and DVD in this month of May, about a week or two ago. And I had totally forgotten about the movie, and then saw people posting about it on Instagram. So I was like, oh shit, I'm going to go pick that up. Went and picked it up yesterday, popped it in yesterday. And I gotta say, it was a pretty good movie, man. I love period pieces. This is set in like the late 1800s. It really is set in the late 1800s, but it starts out in like 1917 during the wartime. And this movie's basically about gypsies and how they're trying to claim their own land, and people who don't allow them to do so are, these gypsies are putting curses on these people. The movie is really good, really well shot, looks awesome. I wonder what the budget was. I don't think I've checked out the budget here. Probably quite a bit, because I don't have it right in front of me, but probably quite a bit, because period pieces, I feel like period piece movies are always quite a bit more money because of the setting and what you have to go through with the set, old looking houses, old looking clothes, everything like that is a lot more money, I feel. But yeah, with this movie, we basically have a good I shouldn't say old-fashioned werewolf movie. More of like a new age telling of it. It has similar aspects to it of like old werewolf movies, but to me, really, this movie almost feels like Sleepy Hollow. If you guys remember Sleepy Hollow with Johnny Depp, Christina Ricci, I think, is in that. It kind of feels like that. We have some characters that are similar, and the story is kind of similar. It's, about this pathologist that comes into town, and he's the only one smart enough to kind of try to figure out what's going on, what's making these killings. He discovers that it's going to be this animal, but then he has his own backstory about his family being attacked and killed by a wolf. So he kind of understands this curse that's happening. and kind of sheds light on that to these new people. But obviously they don't really believe him at first. Um, it's a much deeper and sinister force than they think. So pretty much this family loses, their son. He runs away. They can't find him. But in reality, what's happening behind the scenes is, um, a little bit darker. The kid gets bit by another kid with these silver fangs. These fangs that are made out of melted down silver coins. Um, he gets bit. This other kid puts them in his mouth. The gypsies had these had these fangs that they had made, and that's how they start to curse. Um, yeah, so it's a lot deeper than just a werewolf movie. I think it goes along with, in my opinion, it's a movie about revenge. I think the director had said that he actually thought it was more about addiction and things like that, and I didn't really see that at all. To me, it's about a movie about revenge, how these gypsies are trying to reclaim their land, and these rich people in France are not allowing them to reclaim it. They end up killing these gypsies, and before they can, the gypsies put this curse on them with this silver that is supposedly the silver that Judas accepted in exchange for giving up Jesus, which I thought was a cool premise. I was like, oh, we haven't, that's kind of a cool idea. We haven't seen that yet in a movie. Um, so yeah, they melt. These coins are from Judas, and they melt them down and make these fangs. And whenever you bite someone with the fangs, it starts this chain reaction of them turning into this wolf-like creature and then attacking. And then the real wolf story starts where, you know, that wolf attacks another wolf. That wolf attacks another person. That person turns into a wolf, and it's just kind of a chain reaction that way. So in that sense, it is a traditional werewolf movie, but the wolves look completely different. The CGI is all right. I always get bummed out when you have these cool creature movies and it's just full CGI. They have some scenes where the wolf is just a prop and it's all practical effects, but mostly it's CGI, and they still look cool. Don't get me wrong, but I just one of these days I would love to see that type of creature just done with practical effects and good puppeteering or whatever you want to call it, and it just looks so much cooler in my opinion. Um, but that's not what they do these days. It's I think it's a lot more money to do CGI, but it's a lot easier in the sense that they can hire all these guys that work with computer technology and stuff to do it. So they can kind of put it on the back burner and be like, oh well, we hired all these guys because we have a ton of money and we'll have them do it. Um, so yeah, it's traditionally it's pretty much a werewolf movie, but they also have a cool, when they kill the gypsies, they hang one of them, they cut off his legs and feet, and they put him up, they prop him up like a scarecrow, put a burlap sack over his head, and it's a wicked cool. I don't know if you wouldn't really call it a monster, but it's a really cool character to add to the story. That's why it's not just a werewolf film. This scarecrow, all these kids and all these people on this quote unquote plantation, I guess you would call it, or this pretty much this one guy owns this entire plot of land and he lets people live on it and stuff like that. And they all see the same dream. They see this scarecrow, which is on their land. And they see that the teeth are buried beneath it with the other gypsies. And yeah, the scarecrow is mean looking, man. He's super cool looking. They have some scenes where in their dreams you see the scarecrow and he's standing behind people and he's turning his head and it looks really cool. It was really really well done. I think I like that almost more than I do the actual wolf-like creatures, the way they look. The scarecrow was I we get a lot of it through the film, but I wish we almost got more because he was that badass. It looked so fucking cool, man. But yeah, so and we have some good actors in this movie. We have what's her name, Beth Dutton from Yellowstone. I don't know if you guys are a fan of Yellowstone, but she's in it. Kelly Riley, I think her name is. She plays Isabel. We have Boyd Holbrook, who plays John McBride, who really he's the pathologist. he really reminds me of Ichabod Crane from Sleepy Hollow. Like he's this pathologist. He comes in with all his tools and his microscopes and all this stuff to study, and he fights this curse with science pretty much, which everybody else around him doesn't understand what's going on. It's just a bunch of rich people around him being like, "What is this guy talking about?" Da 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 da. Yeah, so he really reminds me of Ichabod Crane. This whole movie reminds me of Sleepy Hollow. It's the same type of story. It's the same setting. It's this the way the film is shot. The color grading of the film, all reminds me of Sleepy Hollow. It's all dark colors. It's all gray, dark and gray based colors, and the only real color you get is when you see, some blood, which I shouldn't say some, you see quite a bit of blood in this movie. It's a pretty gory film, which is cool. Because at first I didn't think it was going to be, and then it just kind of snowballs into like a lot of gore, really. Um, it's really cool to see. There's some good jump scares in it. It's not a movie based off jump scares, which is good, so I don't mind. Like I hate movies that are just constant jump scares. The story never really seems to stick in that situation. Um, but this one has a few good ones, and they're not made. You can tell they're not like just cheap scares because they're not built around like sound. Like it's not real loud sound when it happens and stuff like that. So it's just kind of part of the story. It's not really just thrown in there to like make your hair stand up on the back of your neck. It was just more part of the story. So I didn't mind seeing those, and they were pretty good. They were pretty creepy. Um, yeah, overall this movie was awesome, dude. And the movie starts off during a war in 1917. I think that'd be World War One, if I'm not mistaken. Um, and it starts off with this battle, and then this guy gets shot, and they bring him into the medical tent, and they pull out the bullets that he got hit with. They say he got hit with like 3 bullets. They pull out 3 bullets, but then they dig deeper and they pull out this one massive bullet, and you can tell like it's a silver bullet, and it's not from any gun that was used in that time period. So that scene happens, and then um, it goes back in time, probably 30 or 40, probably 20, 30 years maybe. And then the real story begins. Um, and the little kid that gets bit at the beginning, his name is Edward. And then you realize throughout the film, he turns into this werewolf, and you don't think he can be saved because what they do is really cool. They don't just transform into this wolf-like creature. They get almost consumed by it. It's like it wraps itself around. It looks like roots coming out of their back. It's kind of Evil Dead looking. And then yeah, this curse like consumes this person, and we find that out because they have this really really awesome looking scene where um John McBride, who's the Ichabod Crane character here, he's the pathologist. He um finally captures one and kills it, and he brings it in. This is where everybody kind of figures out like, oh, there really is something more sinister going on here. This curse is real. They bring it into the barn, and all of a sudden this he cuts open the wolf, and then this person is inside, and it's not Edward, the main kid. It's another girl that got attacked by the wolf that is presumed to be Edward. Um, but she gets attacked. She turns into a wolf, and that's the one that he captures and kills. And when he opens the wolf up, the girl is still inside. She kind of pours out. It's like it reminds me of The Thing. It was really well done. It was scary looking. It was gross. She comes out, and then you know, the pathologist, John McBride's trying to let people know that this isn't the person. They never come back the same, kind of a little pet cemetery thrown in there, she looks the same and everything, but she will just turn right back into this wolf-like creature. So she comes out of the body, and she's screaming, and she's kind of starting to turn white and turn back into this wolf. So they end up blowing her head off, and you see it, and it looks cool. So it's not like that typical werewolf transformation. It's more like these the they're like, it's like a host. The curse is like a host, or the curse is like a like an infection, or like a something like that. You know what I mean? And then the person's the host, and then it consumes the host, and they're just kind of living inside. It's very very interesting take on werewolves, and it looks really cool when they do it. But as we go throughout the movie, we realize that these people can't be saved. Even if you cut them out of the wolf, they're just not the same. You still have to kill them. So as the movie moves forward, we realize, once Edward's family figures out that he can't be saved, that at some point they're going to have to kill him no matter what. So they make these silver bullets, right? And it ends up, at the end, they end up, the mother, who's played by Kelly Riley, she does a pretty good job. She's not like the main character, which I was interested in, because she's probably one of the, she's probably the biggest actor, especially right now with Yellowstone and everything. She's probably the biggest actor in the movie, but she's not. She's more of a co-star. Um, and they're in this church. They're in the church scene, and she finally hears Edward outside. The wolf's kind of playing a trick, letting Edward speak to her. She opens the church doors. The wolf comes in, just starts tearing everybody apart. It's a really good scene. And she really wants to save Edward. She doesn't want to kill Edward. John has his gun up, and he has the silver bullet in it, and he's saying, hey, get out of the way, get out of the way, get out of the way. And she won't. She's trying to save the boy. So John says, I'm sorry to her, pulls the trigger. Silver bullet goes through her and then hits the wolf, which is Edward, right? Wolf morphs back down, lets Edward out, and she gets to, you have this comforting moment where she gets to see Edward before she dies, and you think he's dead, but then he's not. He pops up, he survives. And you realize at the end of the movie that Edward was the soldier at the beginning that got shot. That's why they pulled the silver bullet out of him. So this entire time, the silver bullet has been staying inside him, and that's you assume that's why he lived, because the silver bullet stays inside and keeps the werewolf at bay. Really interesting ending. It was a good ending. I wasn't like seeking any more than that. I thought that was pretty cool. John McBride ends up adopting Edward and his sister Charlotte, who's I haven't talked about her much, but the girl who played her, Amelia Crouch, I think her name is, does a really good job. Yeah, he ends up adopting them, and then it at the end of the movie, it flashes forward to Edward dying, them pulling the silver bullet out, just like the beginning, and then you see John on his deathbed, and Amelia's older, and Charlotte, sorry, Charlotte's older, and she's next to him on his deathbed. You see him pass, and then you see a bunch of silver bullets lined up by the picture. There's a picture of John, Charlotte, and Edward together when they were kids. And, I think Charlotte gets the silver bullet in the mail. At some point, it's sent to her after Edward dies, and you see her put the silver bullet next to the other silver bullets that John had. So obviously they kept the silver bullets just in case that curse kept going. I don't know why, but it was a really good ending, I think. So yeah, really cool ending, really cool movie, original. It's kind of, throughout the movie you have this, you have John McBride, who's the Ichabod Crane type character. He always speaks on this, this beast of Gavadon, it's called. And he references it a lot, and how the army took care of that at one point, and they have to wait for the army to get there to take care of this curse. And they don't really, they refer to it a lot, but they don't tell you what the story is. So I kind of like looked it up. I'm like, is this some like folklore that happened? And it turns out it was a story that happened in France in like the 1700s or 1600s or something, that like this, it was said that this like wolf like hyena type creature killed like within 3 years killed like 500 people, and it was always like bite marks to the neck or to the head. That's how all these people were found killed, and I was like, this is got to be fake, right? And I dove into it, and it was like actual accounts of this happening. Now it was probably a big wolf. I know there was some farmer or something that ended up killing this thing, but I was interested. It was super interesting to find out that that was like actual accounts that happened. I was like, oh, this is kind of, where the werewolf phenomenon kind of came into play. That's how like the legend of the werewolf came to be. Stories like that. So I wish they would have maybe thrown that story and gave us a little bit more backstory on that in the movie, but it was kind of cool to look up and see that. So it kind of originated in France, and this movie takes place in France and stuff like that. So that's cool. Now, obviously, these gypsies, I didn't touch on this too much, but the gypsies are there trying to claim their land. And it's really all the father's fault. His name's Seamus. He's the rich guy. He owns this big manor, and all these people live on the land that he knows, the elders, they call them. But he's super rich, and they're pretty much, the curse is towards him. It's coming after him. It's coming after his kin, all his children, all his family. And it presumably can't be stopped. But yeah, it's really all his fault. So the whole movie, it's leading up to figure out that he took this land, and these gypsies wanted a piece of it, and they were claiming a piece of land, and it's not a very big plot of land. It's pretty small, but this guy is like so greedy that he doesn't want anybody even close to his land, and he wants that land, and it's not big. And you're thinking at the beginning like, oh, maybe the budget of the movie's small, but no, it's like this guy is just that greedy. He wants that small piece of land for himself. He can't let anybody else have it. So like when these gypsies get killed, it's by his men. He sends people out to kill them, and so he can own the land, and that's where the curse starts with. But it's really about like gypsies going around trying to claim land and no one allowing them to have land, and then they set this curse on them. And the girl that makes the silver teeth, she gets buried alive underneath her husband, who's the scarecrow. And it's a really pretty brutal scene because she's getting buried with the teeth, and she's saying the curse to herself, and they're burying her alive, and they're like throwing dirt in her mouth and stuff. It's pretty hardcore. But yeah, this guy's how can you be that greedy? It's like this little plot of land. It's like not even 50 acres of land that these people laid claim to, and he doesn't even want to give them that. He's like, I'm just going to murder all of them, bury them, set up this scarecrow to show people that they can't trespass on my land and all this shit. Pretty hardcore. And the teeth themselves look really awesome. They got little symbols on them, and it's a cool curse, really. I don't know if any curse is really cool, but you know what I mean? It was really well done. Like, to have that item and see it, and I'd kind of like to maybe purchase those teeth somewhere so I can have it in the horror room here. But yeah, just stuff like that really made this movie stand out to me. The teeth, the scarecrow, the wolf creatures, how they consume the person, just a completely different transformation. And you don't see it happen completely. Like, it's not like, an American Werewolf in London and shit where you get all these awesome like werewolf transformation where their fingernails start growing and the hair starts growing. These things are actually hairless completely. They're just like these weird human slash wolf slash, like, I think at one point one of the girls says it looks like a dragon or something. Yeah, it's a really weird looking creature. Definitely original. Big teeth, bald head almost, it's definitely weird looking, but it's still got like the hind legs, I think, of like a wolf. So it looks really cool. Yeah, they did a really good job with that kind of stuff, and I can't say how cool the scarecrow. And if you watch, if you've seen the trailer and stuff, that's what we got to begin with. We didn't see any of the creature. You kind of felt like it was going to be a werewolf thing, but like the scarecrow is what drew me in for sure. I don't know about you guys, but let me know in the comments. It was the scarecrow that they showed the most, and that really made me latch onto this movie a little bit. and really want to see it because I wanted to see how they were going to pull it out. I was like, I think it's going to be Werewolf because of the teeth, but then the Scarecrow's coming into play, and then there's this whole family, and that really drew me in, which was really cool. Yeah, pretty awesome. Yeah, overall this movie was cool, man. I probably give it like a 7.5. You know, um, definitely something I'm gonna watch again. I'm glad to have it in the collection. Um, Definitely a cool idea, an original idea. Acting was like, if there's anything, I think the acting was like subpar. It wasn't like unbelievable. Um, Not like heavy hitters or anything, but sometimes that works better for a movie when you don't have all these people that, all these big actors in it, and then it kind of becomes like this blockbuster weird, movie. Kind of like when they redid The Wolfman and you get Anthony Hopkins in there and stuff, and it just didn't really work because it's like a classic tale, and you kind of want to, you don't want to be distracted by these big names. And like I said, Kelly Riley is probably the biggest one in there, and I mean, she's big, but she's big in television right now. She's been in a few movies as well, but I wouldn't say she's like a fucking superstar actor or anything. She does a very good job, but that's probably the biggest name. And everybody else is kind of, there's some other actors here and there that are good, but still it's mostly just people that you really haven't seen on screen yet or haven't seen them a lot. Which I think, yeah, like I said, I think that works better in films like this, especially period pieces, when it's tough to like sometimes throw those big actors in there, and you see them in these old clothes with like the top hats and the trench coats and like stuff like that, and it just kind of looks weird. It makes you feel like it's on set. You feel like it is a set, and in this movie you didn't really get that feeling. It's it was well done, and the locations were great. They must have shot it during the fall. All the trees are bare. It's very dead looking. It's like I said, the color grading is awesome. It reminds me of Sleepy Hollow. It really does. This is just kind of like a more hardcore Sleepy Hollow in my opinion, which is cool because I like Sleepy Hollow and I like this movie a lot. I hope you guys did too. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this movie. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Comment, all that good stuff. Get the algorithm going. I'm hoping to have some more guests coming on here pretty soon. I know our last guest appearance did really well with Silent Horror Night and Skynet. A lot of people dug that, so I'm hoping to get some more people in here so we can talk more about horror. I appreciate you guys tuning in. As always, really appreciate the love. Everybody's always super nice about the podcast and about just the whole brand. It's always compliments, and it's great to hear that the hard work is paying off. So I really appreciate it, and yeah, hope you guys have a good day. See you later. Home of horror, the home of horror podcast. Home of horror, the home of horror podcast.